So just like before, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do and kind of what your job entails so that everyone on the same page with you?
Yeah, so I've been with LinkedIn for 4 years. I joined 4 years ago. My accent, I'm French for your information, moved to the US 7 years ago. At LinkedIn, I run global marketing ops, which means I'm in charge of the marketing cloud. I'm in charge of running campaigns, supporting marketers, and anything related to insight reporting and dashboarding.
Got it. So why don't you talk a little bit about what it was like when you arrived and how it's changed? Because LinkedIn certainly has changed dramatically as a company, but maybe you can talk a little bit about how it happened to your organization.
Yes, so I started in the demand gen world at LinkedIn and started with 2 people. And so the first week, met with my CMO. I said, okay, what are we shooting for? What do we want to solve for? And based on the discussion I had internally, I'm like, okay, I need to build a machine for like 500 to support 500 million in revenue. And his feedback is, no, you don't get it. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, you need to build a machine to support 1 billion. I'm like, okay. So it took me 2 weeks, talked to people and put a plan together and grew the team within the last 4 years from 2 people to 50 people. So it's a lot of people. Through that process, thinking about how we hire, how we onboard people, how we develop those people, and how we retain talent was a big thinking.
Yeah. So, and then you told me that you recently consolidated a lot of the marketing across
Yes.
the company, right? So talk a little bit about why you guys did that and what you get out of it.
Yeah. So what happened a couple of months ago, we made a decision internally. Our CMO was pushing and said, okay, we need to run faster. So the feedback was like, oh, really? We've been running like really, really fast for the last 3 years. He's like, yeah, faster. I want leverage. So we decided to consolidate the ops team. We have a couple of ops team. One in the online world, one in the consumer world, and I was covering all the B2B side, into one global marketing ops team covering consumer, prosumer, and B2B. Really interesting because we are, I think, from what I heard and feedback from vendors, one of the only organizations where under one organization you have both the B2C world and the B2B world. So we need to define and think about how do we talk together. We don't use the same language, we don't use the same wording, we don't measure the same way to be sure that we get alignment across the board, that we can support our marketers and our salespeople, as well as developing like faster track for our members to be educated on our systems and solutions. Sorry.
So why do people like having one umbrella? Like, is it the one throat to choke type of feeling? Or?
Not at all. It's actually not at all. The goal is to refocus on our members and to be member-centric. The challenge we had is we were looking at our members from a business line standpoint. Today, the way we are structured is consumer, so all the B2C world. And after, from a monetization standpoint, we have 3 lines of business: talent solutions, marketing solutions, and sales solution. Instead of having people working in silo, is putting the member back in the center and building around the member and focusing on life cycle.
Got it. So what was it like going from 3 to 50? That's quite a big number, right?
Yeah, so it's a big thing. So going from 3 to 50 took a couple of years. We were doubling year over year. So the first thing is thinking about how we hire. I learned a lot at LinkedIn, and one of the first thing I learned is I got my couple of headcounts. So we were 2 people. And it's like, okay, here's another 2 headcount, go and hire. So put my job rec together, got approval, took me some time to pipeline. Like the talent pool in the world of marketing operations is really small. It's tough to find good people. And I thought I found the right guy. So the way it works at LinkedIn, like you go through 2 rounds of interview, like any companies, you meet like 7, 8 people. It looks like a long process, but actually it's pretty cool because you get to discover people you're gonna work with, as well as us knowing better as a candidate. And really proud about the person I had, ready to close him, went to see my boss, and I'm like, okay, you're good. He said, no, I'm not good. We're not gonna hire that person. So I'm like, what, really? He said, yeah, he's not a culture fit. I'm like, culture fit? Like, explain this to me. So what we have and the way we work is if 7 people interview somebody, all 7 have to say thumbs up. If this is not happening, you can have a discussion with one of the folks saying, okay, explain to me why you don't want to hire him. If you are not able to convince him, it's done. The person can be super talented, can be amazing, but if we believe that it's not gonna work, we have to move to the next candidate. So what we look at when we hire, the first thing is culture fit, like is he good for the team and is he gonna play well with us? The second thing is passion for their job. The assumption here is, as you know, marketing has been changing a lot over the last 3 years. Actually, it's really, really exciting for us. And the way we've been doing our job over the last 3 years is not the same way we're going to be doing our job in the future. So what we are looking for is not for people like doing their job, doer. We're looking for owner. And to move there, what we do is we don't hesitate to hire young. My team is an average of like 24-year-old, pretty young, a little bit crazy, but fearless. They're ready to experiment, they're ready to push it and bring it to the next level. So this is the two things we're looking for: culture fit, passion, and the third thing we think about when hiring, as you say, moving from like 2 to 50, but even if you build a team from 1 to 10, is what is that person going to do next? Okay, in the next like 2 years, are they going to be in the same job? If not, what's going to be their next move? So really building for scale.
Is it harder for the customers to work with really young people? Like, I know when I run across really young people in an organization, sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, right? So what is that like?
So first, it's part of the culture across the board. I remember starting in the first couple of months and discussing about like Salesforce architecture, like complex architecture with a guy, and he was like, we were not in agreement. And I think I have like the same vision as you. I'm like, I have 15 years of experience, I've done it, blah, blah, blah. Starting to talk with the guy, and he was making a point. I was disagreeing, but I'm like, you're the D. After the meeting, I realized he was an intern. I'm like, okay, so that's the way it works. So it's part of the culture. The thing we're doing, though, part of the onboarding process, we focus a lot on talent. Talent is our priority number one. And not only we talk about it, but we really do it. We spend time on this. One of the first things people are going to do is when they join LinkedIn, meaning my team, for a month, of course, they're going to learn like the teams, they're going to understand the culture, learn what we do. If needed, they're going to be trained on like technical product, Alaqua, Responses, or other. But one thing we're going to do really quickly is to do an insight test. I don't know if you've done one of those tests where you answer a couple of questions, they tell you.
Oh yeah, I've had to do those.
Yeah. So if you're red, like you don't talk to people, you're yellow, and you want to be involved in everything. So why we do this is goal number one is for people to know themselves a little bit better. Goal number two is we know they're going to have to interact with a lot of people internally. Not only is they going to have to interact with people internally, but they're going to have to influence. And the gap we have today, again, exciting time, marketing revolution, a bunch of tools, like we have superpowers, we can do like all crazy things. But the point is not everybody in the organization understand what we can do. And I think marketers today turn a little bit like geeky marketer, where they are struggling to explain the why and the how and where they want to get. So what we do is through that test, people know themselves. But the second thing we do is we help them understand how to read people in meetings, to influence them, and to understand how to answer questions. On top of it, I can talk about this for a long time. So
I can tell.
You stop me whenever you feel like. But on top of it, what we do is to nurture our team, our employee is we have a contest or a review. It's like Shark Tank. We call it like Kick-Ass. Sorry for my accent, Kick-Ass. So
Kick-Ass or just Kick-Ass?
Both. And so the way it works is we offer the opportunity for anybody on the global marketing ops team to share one of their projects they've done over the last 3 months. And the way it works is they have one slide, 90 seconds, that's all, to pitch it. And everybody's going to pitch it one after the other, okay? We have a couple of judges coming from other part of the organization, could be marketing. Most of the time, we try to get people from sales, people from finance, people from design, and people vote at the end, and the winner gets an award. It's a Kick-Ass award. Why we use it? Yeah, makes sense, right?
Right. Is it a donkey or a horse?
You haven't seen the movie?
Yes.
And so why do we do this is for people to be able to pitch 90 seconds. It's really a tough exercise. That's one. The second one is visibility. The third one is education. Again, one of the big thing, and we keep talking about it, is please spend the time explaining the why and the how of what you want to do. Okay, that's that like concept of superpower, and being able to pitch it in 90 seconds is key to us. So this is how we invest, and this is how we get our people to grow faster.
So one of the things that we talked about earlier was about data, right? And how you feel as though, if I remember correctly, that you feel like there's too much measurement or there's too much data being,
Yes.
right? So talk a little bit about that. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say too much when it comes to data.
Yes, that's right. So so data is a big deal today. In a perfect world, you want to move from data to information, information to knowledge, and knowledge to intelligence across the board, both for your acquisition business as well as for your customer business, renewal and upsell, which means you want to go from data, what happened, okay, it's like a spreadsheet and you have a set of metrics, to intelligence is what is the best that could happen, and up to prediction. The challenge we have today is two types of challenges, personally. Number one is challenges around how do we leverage data to build a propensity model? And which data do we use to build our propensity model? I think today as marketers, we are sometimes, as we move to the geeky land, trying to make it more too complex, okay? And so how do we build propensity model scoring to get our sales team successful, okay? The concept is, in a perfect world, salespeople, like sales devs, they call like 60 times a day. You want those 60 calls to be successful. So which set of data do you use? And how do you keep it simple? Because the only thing you're looking at, if you get 1,000 inquiries a day, is how do you identify those MQL, marketing qualified leads, that you're going to pass over to the sales team. Okay, we're looking for the top 20, top 30%, depending on the capacity you have behind the scene. We tend to overthink it. This is one. The second one is data such as how do I measure success? Again, I go back to the superpower concept. We can do like nurture and automation and scoring and all those things. But the point is, how do we measure success and how do we align on measuring success? We just did something internally where we've been working on one of our Inde, we can talk about Inde after if you're interested, thinking about, okay, how do we develop like propensity model and scoring at the account level for our B2B business, moving from contact to account. So we implemented a model, so we have all those scores. And the first question we got from our marketers, which are like, we are a big culture of numbers at LinkedIn, is like, okay, I get the number. So we were able to build a propensity model for propensity to buy. Above a certain score, people will jump from 20% to 40% close rate. All excited. The first question we got is like, okay, this is fun. Explain to me what is behind that number. Mm-hmm. And explain to me what is the influence of the different channels. The panel before was talking about multi-channel is what is the weight between online and nurture and touch from the salespeople. So this is the things where I think we have too much data. Like when you bring data, there is more data and more questions. And people on the marketing side now more and more are like a little bit either reinventing the wheel or trying to like run those crazy spreadsheets and trying to understand conversion rate by channel and so on, going really, really deep.
Interesting. So how does that change for people who you're actually reaching out to and the people who you are marketing to? Like, do they see a better experience as a result of this propensity models, or how does it play out?
Yeah, the point is what we want to execute on is right member, like any marketer, right member or contact or account, right time, right offer, being a piece of content or a promo, and right channel. Okay, we are still working on it. I have to say our world, like we have more than 300 million members. It's pretty complex based on how the information we'd like to push. We deliver new feature on the platform all the time. We have new offer. It's just like, okay, how do you prioritize? So what we are trying to do is to be sure that we execute on that vision across our different platform. The way we're going to measure success are initially top of the funnel on engagement on our campaign. This is one, and after it's bottom of the funnel based on conversion rate to close one business.
Interesting. So how, if we think out, forward a few years for what it's going to look like for LinkedIn, once you've been able to kind of figure out how you're handling all this data, what does it look like? Gaze into your crystal ball. These people said that they're going to be out of the job. What is it going to look like?
I don't think so. I was listening. I don't believe marketer will be out of job. I think the world's going to get more busy. We're going to have more technology. We're going to have more to play with. I think the next big thing I'm personally working on internally is life cycle. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm going to go in detail. So again, being able to execute on right member, right content, right channel, and right time. The challenge we have as marketers today is our sales cycle is complex and simple. I'm going to explain. It's simple because in the life cycle, you have multiple stages. You go from awareness to acquisition to engagement, retention, and win back. And I attended a presentation from Oracle, like a guy from Ops came with that like infinite loop. It means you keep on going through those different stages. It was my last year epiphany. I looked at this and like, that's beautiful. The point is, how do you tag, like if you take on the different dimensions, is how do you understand where your member are in those different stages? That's one. The second one is there is contact versus account. If you do like prosumer or B2B business, different story. With the user, with the decision maker, with the influencer in that world. So we already have 4 dimensions. Then you go down, content. How do you, which type of content are they looking for? On what type of device are they looking at that content? Then you go through the channel. Where I'm trying to get is, today we need machine learning to get there. Human being can only process 3 dimensions. Here we're talking about 10 dimensions. I believe in a world, if I have to look at the future, where machine learning will help you define what is the next campaign you have to execute, through what channel, to what people, okay? And marketers will be in charge on working of persona, messaging, optimizing content. But behind the scene, I'd like to move from like we're doing campaign, which is cool, but I'm not a big fan, to we are moving like from a monetization standpoint, millions of dollars from one stage to the other. And we understand how it works. Today's a challenge. I go back to my data challenge, is there is too much.
Yeah.
And as we work in those 10 dimensions, it's a little bit complex. So in my crystal ball, this is what I would love to solve for.
Got it. Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool.
Our life cycle is a big deal. So focus on life cycle.
Well, thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.